DNVR Broncos live, coming to you from Studio C. The C stands for, can you believe it? Can you believe these QB rankings?
Good work, Ryan.
Thank you. I'm pretty proud of that one. There we are. We're back on here. Henry, there's a couple things here, but I think we have to lead with what was being dubbed as breaking news. I think this is pretty important stuff. Oh, actually, it was dubbed as an update. But this is, boy, is this a big update here. Allie, could you bring that up for us? Here it is from Jordan Football. Update. Update. The Broncos are reportedly tailoring their offense around new quarterback Russell Wilson, a source told Jerry Fowler.
It's big stuff. Big stuff. I mean, if you weren't bought into this coaching staff before, you have to be now. I mean, what does this mean? This means at some point, all these offensive coaches were sitting around a table and somebody said, we have Russell Wilson as quarterback. Maybe we should keep that in mind. And everybody else agreed.
Yes. You know, it's funny because like we joke here and no actual shade at our friend Jordan Football here. But there have been times where it didn't feel like the team actually was tailoring their offense to their quarterback. So maybe we should give him a little bit of a break here that this actually is news, even though it shouldn't be.
Maybe. I mean, maybe. If it was Pat Shurmur, I mean, what? How do you even tailor an offense around Teddy Bridgewater? Like, honestly, that kind of did. Like, you go back and watch, and it's like, oh, yep, every receiver is exactly 5 yards away from the line of scrimmage. Teddy Bridgewater offense, except for the guys on the edges. Guys on the edges go downfield because he can't get the ball there. So why not lob one up if none of the other three are open? But yeah, I mean, it's a big news day for us over here in Bronco land.
I think there were multiple times that they ran 5 hooks on 3rd and 5. Just spread it out all the way. 5 guys turned right around at 5 yards.
Just hoping they're not running cover 2, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. No, but this is that's a fun one to start with. What we're really starting with though is you're back in Colorado. So the quest to see a bear bore no fruit, huh?
Yeah, it was a real shame. Like, again, we came real close. We're up on top of that mountain, and the guy gets the mountain top right behind us, and he's like, hey, watch out on the way down. There's a bear kind of skittered across the road and climbed up a tree. It's like, okay, where is he? He's like, it's just a couple miles back next to the waterfall, the 3 arches. It's like, okay, we'll be looking I looked in all the trees. No bear. And that turned out to be as close as we got.
Tough.
All the trees.
There were a lot of trees.
You were actively looking and searching.
It was, yeah. I mean, if there's a bear, you're on the lookout. Like, you got it. Next thing you know, he's right behind you, and who knows what happens there.
Yeah, you got to have awareness or a bearness.
Awareness.
I've been having dreams about bears because of all this bear talk that we've been doing.
Really? What happened in the dream?
I'm actually vaguely, I can't really remember it. I just remember that there were bears.
Have you told the Broncos community about our almost bear sighting? How we couldn't get out of the car before we got into the garage and the garage door closed?
Yeah, that's just my mom freaking out. When we were in Steamboat, there was a bear sighting in the neighborhood. And my mom was convinced that we were gonna die.
Buddy had the smoker out, so we were like, oh, maybe that's what's attracting it.
Yeah, we were smoking some brisket on the 3rd of July, getting it ready for the 4th of July. And they were convinced that was going to attract the bear. But I did some research. bears not attracted to smoke. Actually, the opposite, because they're an animal. Smoke means fire, means don't go there.
Yeah. Interesting. Because my thought was, like, does a bear care what kind of meat it gets? Like if you were to get like perfectly smoked brisket, put that just like on one table, and then on the other table just like half of a dead deer or something, like would it go to the good meat, or does it just not care?
It would go to, according to my research, which is pretty in depth, it would go to the deer, because they are, unless they have previously been exposed to cooked meat, the smell of cooked meat doesn't smell like food to them.
Weird. That's
Yeah.
weird. I also, this is a little bit even more off topic, but I was scrolling through Twitter for like 3 hours this morning, and I saw this video of these two lions. They're like, apparently they were like raised by this lady, and the lady came back a long time later, and the like lions came up and hugged her. But the lions were kept inside a fence, but not a big fence, just a really small fence. And I thought, what is the point of this? Because it looked like a dog park almost, where it's like one of those, it's like a cute green fence. There's like a path in it, and the lions come up and like hug over the fence. It's like, why? I don't know. I guess without the context of seeing the video, it's tough to imagine, but it did make me wonder, like, is that, what's the point of that fence?
I don't know. It kind of goes back to my whole thing about gorillas.
Gorillas, yep.
Gorilla enclosures are merely just a suggestion for the gorillas.
I
Exactly.
didn't realize this was an animal podcast.
It should be. I mean, Bronco's an animal, so
That is true. That is true. Rocky, not an animal. A nugget, not an animal. An avalanche, not an animal. This is the Denver Animal Podcast.
this is by far the most closely related, although buffs and rams also animals.
What if we did a thing where whenever the Broncos play like an animal team, we go live from the zoo outside of that animal's enclosure?
Oh my God, that's good.
Wouldn't it be good?
Someone tell Parker we need to do a partnership with the zoo.
Yes, I will fund it.
Like, does 9 News still do that? I remember when I was a kid, like watching, like on Fridays, I think it was, they would have like the seal choose a ball between the
Drew
Broncos yeah, exactly. Like, are they still doing that?
I don't.
Or can we bring it back?
I think we can bring it back. Like we should do that. We should interview whatever animal they're playing, like a lion. What else is there? Like AFC West Charger, that's dumb. Chief is dumb.
Panthers.
Raiders dumb. So none in the division. That's some garbage.
Yeah. We'll
there
have
aren't
to.
as many
Bengals.
animals as you think.
Yeah.
Bengals.
Bears.
They don't have any. They don't have any. We call them buffaloes here. They don't have any buffaloes. Well, I think they actually do have like water buffaloes at that zoo.
They do. All right, we're gonna move on.
Okay.
Top 10. So remember last week we talked about where Pat Surtain ranked on the Jeremy Fowler's poll of ESPN execs, players, and coaches. I don't know if in the actual article it tells you exactly how many of each, but I feel like that's important to know. But it's execs, players, and coaches ranking the top 10 at each position. Last week, we talked a little bit about corner. I think that's the only one that we talked about because it was the only one where a Bronco popped up on it. But we've got another one, actually another 2 today. We're going to start, though, with the quarterback position. And I think this is an interesting one with the way that the top stacks up and how low I believe Russell Wilson is. So let's go through this, Henry. Number 1, Aaron Rodgers. Number 2, Patrick Mahomes. Number 3, Josh Allen. Number 4, Tom Brady. Number 5, Joe Burrow. Number 6, Matthew Stafford. Number 7, Justin Herbert. Number 8, Russ Wilson. Number 9, Deshaun Watson. And number 10, Dak Prescott. Your instant reaction.
I mean, first you look at Russell Wilson. Like, if your first reaction isn't "Where's Russell Wilson? Where's Russell Wilson?" Oh, there he is. Then, like, this is probably not a podcast for you. Number 8, without like looking at the names around him, it's like, yeah, that feels about right. Like, I doubt he'd be much lower than that. I think that was probably pretty close to his floor in a ranking like this. But
yeah,
I mean, in that range probably. But then the other big one is like, it's always like Joe Burrow at number 5. I'm not sure. It's tough to mix the young guys with the old guys and figuring out like the order of, so where do Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, Matthew Stafford, Russell Wilson, where do those guys stack up? That order I feel like is easy to come up with. Same with like, where does Mahomes, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, that order is easy to come up with. It's mixing those two orders together that I think is a real challenge.
Yeah. I think obviously like the youth plays a factor here, I think, with Joe Burrow getting so high. Here's what I'll say. The top 4, at least the names, is undebatable to me.
I agree.
Those are the 4 best quarterbacks in football as of right now. You can debate the order all day long. It's all going to come down to what you value. Do you value youth? Do you value accomplishments? Do you value clutch? Where are you at on that? Like, that's going to be what comes down. Aaron Rodgers ends up number 1 here because he's the back-to-back MVP in my opinion. So like, it's hard to argue with that. Just the way it's hard to argue that Nikola Jokic isn't the best player in basketball. Like, 2 straight seasons, no flukes. Aaron Rodgers has that case. Where I think it gets interesting and where I think Russell Wilson should be slotted is 5. I mean, let's just look at Joe Burrow. Obviously Joe Burrow was awesome last year, and the playoffs matter too. But, his season last season is like a pretty standard Russell Wilson season, aside from yards. He stacked up a lot more yards and was incredibly accurate at 70% completion percentage. But to me, like, one season that 34 touchdowns, 14 interceptions doesn't do enough for me to say he's better than Russell Wilson right now. Now, if you were doing the whole, like, I'm starting a franchise thing, then you have to factor in youth and blah, blah, blah. You probably take Joe Burrow. If I'm just saying, who do I want this year to be my quarterback? I'm taking Russell Wilson.
Yeah, and I think that's like definitely an argument you can make. Again, like, it's just so hard with those younger guys to project. And so you err on the cautious side, throwing Russell Wilson in there like that. That's probably a good call. I look at it and say the Justin Herbert one is an easier conversation for me, where it's like, yeah, Russell Wilson's just in front of him.
Straight up.
Sure, there's like the upside and whatever else, but I think that he's in front of him. I'd have Stafford probably in front of Burrow. And then you get into that Stafford-Russell Wilson conversation for number 5 in my mind. And maybe Joe Burrow, Russell Wilson a little bit too. I don't know. And that's where it really gets tough, though, just because they're different styles of quarterback.
The sample size for me on Joe Burrow is just so small. And obviously, like, he's getting a lot of he's getting a lot of bonus points for making the Super Bowl, which I'm not saying he shouldn't be. But we've talked about this a little bit. Like, I wouldn't even say it's guaranteed that the Bengals make the playoffs this year.
Oh, absolutely. And again, like, we've talked about this plenty, but like that, the NFL playoffs are different than other sports. Like, going and getting rings there's definitely something to it. Like, you give credit to a guy like Tom Brady who's proven that he can do it, but I don't feel like you take credit away from an Aaron Rodgers who's come close these last couple of years but hasn't gotten over the hump. Like, it's one football game. Things happen. And Joe Burrow going through and winning 3-point games on the way to a Super Bowl appearance, like, congrats to him. He did that. But also, we'll see if it's replicable. So I agree with you there, but I also think that, the small sample size is a pro and a con. Like the con obviously is that, it could drop off. The positive is, maybe he's going even further up from here. And I can't fault anybody for wanting to make that gamble. If somebody were to say, I want Joe Burrow on my team this year, I'd say, give me Russell Wilson, get me to the playoffs for sure, and let's just get cooking from there. With Burrow, it's like, you could wind up within. If I were to bet on one of these guys to win MVP, I'd take Burrow.
Okay. And I guess just to put a bow on that, like, are we having this conversation? Is Joe Burrow number 5 if Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs don't massively, embarrassingly choke away the AFC Championship game by just being dumb? like the play at the end of the first half. If they just stop being idiots for 1 second and kick a field goal there, are we having this conversation? Is Joe Burrow 5? I think probably not. I think he's probably down at 8. And Russell Wilson, you move everyone up a spot there.
I think there's a good chance. I mean, you also remember completed 70% of his passes last year with a big old volume there. And you can't
really
ignore
impressive.
that.
No, really
it is, especially in his second season. And again, the Bengals last year, good football team, a lot of but it's also the Bengals. That's not a team that's been successful before. It's not the same as Baker putting up numbers with the Browns, but it's along that road for sure.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what their defense looks like. I know they lose the tight end, although they didn't have him for the playoffs anyway, did they? Uzoma.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I don't think so.
Anyways, Stafford for me, again, this is all about, right? We learned that this was all about right now. There's no projection. It's who you want tomorrow to start for you. No way I'm taking Matthew Stafford over Russ Wilson. And I know that Matthew Stafford just won the Super Bowl. But to me, that was a lot more about system than anything else. And that's not to necessarily take away from Matthew Stafford. But again, I'm just going who is the better quarterback? Russell Wilson.
Yeah, it's a tough one for me. It's a tough one for me. And mostly because there's different styles. Russell Wilson adds all the things he adds, all the creative out of the pocket type stuff. Stafford is maybe, the stats would say the best deep ball quarterback in the league. And it's a league where big plays matter more than ever before. And again, just won a Super Bowl. Now, also, he had Cooper Kupp putting up big numbers. And that's, again, the dumb conversation you have, it seems like twice a year, where it's the quarterback had the receiver. It's the receiver had the quarterback. And so you just throw everybody's numbers out. It's it's a team game. That's why it's hard to put rankings together. And honestly, probably kind of dumb to worry about rankings.
Right. What happens if you give Russell Wilson Jamar Chase?
Yeah. What happens if you give Joe Burrow DK Metcalf or Matt Stafford DK Metcalf? Again, rankings are almost always dumb, but they are also kind of fun.
Fun to talk about, yeah.
Exactly. They're really fun. So, I mean, yeah, if I would take Russell Wilson. Yeah, I would take Russell Wilson.
Okay. And then 7, Herbert. I mean, we can, this might as well I should have a loop for what I say about Justin Herbert. How are we ranking people this high when they've never even been to the playoffs? Forget winning a playoff game. That's a whole other hurdle that you have to clear in your career. Notably, who's not on this list? Lamar Jackson. If you were to ask someone why is he not on this list, they'd be like, the playoff success just isn't really there.
Yeah.
Well, that's idiotic if you're putting Justin Herbert at 7.
Yeah, but I mean, I think it's easy to lump him in with just the Chargers, whatever, decade plus 2 decades really of just failing. He's a young guy. He's only had 1 or 2 stabs at it. And he was also second in the league in passing yards last year as a 23-year-old. And so him as a 24-year-old making the top 10, I think he's pretty easily in the top 10. Again, him at number 7, again, without looking at the names around him, I don't mind it. We've talked about it enough to say Russell Wilson's probably in front of him, but for this season, would you rather have Dak or Justin Herbert? I'd rather have Justin Herbert. I'd also probably have Lamar Jackson ahead of both of them, though.
Well, forget Dak, because Dak doesn't belong on this list either, in my opinion. Would you rather have Justin Herbert or Lamar Jackson?
Exactly, Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, so what are we doing here? And again, the only thing that people are holding against Lamar, the only thing I can imagine that they would say is why he's not on this list is, he hasn't had the playoff success, which he has won a playoff game. Something that Justin Herbert has never even had the opportunity to do.
It's true. I mean, Lamar threw 16 touchdowns last year, sub 90 quarterback rating. There's pros and cons with him more than any other quarterback.
But this isn't who's the best passer.
It's true. Yeah, absolutely. Like he does all those other things too, but it's again, modern NFL where throwing is more important than ever. Again, I would take Lamar Jackson over those guys, but you see why you could weasel your. Well, I don't know how you keep him out of the top 10. Actually,
Yeah, there's no way. Also, what the hell is Deshaun Watson doing here?
I don't know. I mean, what were the numbers from 2 years ago when he actually played? Again, it probably doesn't matter because he's taking 18 months off. But
should we throw Peyton Manning on the list too if we're just throwing in guys who haven't played in years?
If Peyton Manning had left just a little bit better taste in our mouths, then maybe.
Well, like, what are we doing here? The guy is not playing, and he ain't playing this year either.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably the biggest gamble of anybody on the list. Not because of like whether he will play or not, but just because of what happens to a guy after 18 months of not playing football. But yeah,
Like,
I wouldn't have had him in my top 10. But who do you even put on? I guess Lamar Jackson you put on. But if Dak Prescott doesn't belong, then who does?
Kyler Murray.
Really?
Over Dak. Definitely over Deshaun.
No.
Deshaun is not eligible for this list, in my opinion.
It's not the conversation, though.
It's like
eligibility.
It's like, hey, who would you want to play for you on Sunday? Okay, well he ain't playing, so he's not on the list. Because now, if he's available, cool. Let me take John Elway.
Would you? Okay, line up 60-plus-year-old John Elway and see what happens. It would be much worse than what happens with these other guys.
It's better than Deshaun Watson, who isn't playing.
But that's not the point. The point is if you could play him, and again, it's not. You don't have to deal with like the PR things on the side. It's just like it's a football game. Is he a good quarterback? Would I put him in my top 10 of guys I want to be my quarterback? No, of course not. But like in terms of just purely winning games, and he's on the field to do it, I don't know. It's the 18 months off that I just don't even know how to factor that in. But Kyler Murray, like I don't think Kyler Murray's a top 10 quarterback, but I'm struggling to come up with who else I'd put in front of him, you know?
Yeah. I mean, let's pull up QBR from last year and see if there's anyone we're missing here. Funny enough, in the top 10 includes Ryan Tannehill. So yeah, make of that what you will. Carson Wentz, QBR darling, I guess.
Be bad.
And then it falls off a little bit. Is there any case for Derek Carr to be over either of those last two?
I don't think so over Dak. I mean, the case would just be like pure production. Just like if you just like pocket passing total yards, he probably puts up more. Dak had all the weapons before. I mean, Dak, in terms of a start to a career, he's been in the league 5 years, 6 years, something like that. He may have been in the best situation of anybody currently in the league. He's right up there. I'm not going to say he's best, but I mean, you think of the offensive line he came in with the running game he came in with, and all the weapons they have. I mean, Jason Witten being perfect right away, but then they still have like 4 receivers. That kind of changes this year. So I think the case would be, well, Derek Carr, if he had those sorts of weapons, that sort of line, that sort of running game, he already puts up more numbers slightly, maybe a little bit less efficiently. That could scout. So I think there's a case. Those two are basically on the same level for me, though.
Yeah, I'm trying to think if I could pick between Dak or Derek Carr to start a game this weekend. Who would I pick? The hard thing is that I think I would pick Derek Carr.
I think I would take Dak, but again, like they're right there, neck and neck.
Yeah, it's a tough one. The only thing that would maybe sway it for me towards Dak would just be the he has more ability with his legs.
Yeah, exactly. And that a lot of it's situational, and that you really can't factor in here because it's like, who would you want on Sunday? Well, if you're making a team, like quarterback's probably the first piece you're putting in there, you know, so you get to build around him in some way. But I lean Dak. Outside of them, though, I mean, who else is there? Like Kirk Cousins?
Kirk Cousins, yeah.
The answer is no.
Yeah, he's. I mean, again, he's not getting in over Carr.
No.
That for me at least.
Exactly. And
the other person that I think, if we're crowning young players before they've earned anything, I think Mack Jones has a little bit of a case.
I was hoping,
but I don't think he gets in. I think he has a little
Exactly.
bit of a case, but I don't think he gets in.
You take Derek Carr over him. Like the case for Justin Herbert is like, he plays a lot like Russell Wilson, and he's maybe been almost as good, and now maybe this year he takes a step. Or it's like there's a pretty clear gap between a Derek Carr and a Mac Jones probably at this point.
Okay. Do you want to quickly go through? And I guess we didn't give Kyler Murray his due. Do you think he's in or out?
He's out for me.
Okay.
So, but let's see. I mean, you docked yeah, I'd take Dak over Kyler. I mean, you're so comfortable having him back there. Kyler Murray, he does things for you, but he also makes some bad decisions, and he's a step away still. Next year, after a good year, I think there's a good chance that he could get into this, like, for the next season, who do you want conversation.
Yeah. Okay. The biggest problem maybe we'll go through our rankings. The biggest problem for me with Kyler is the lack of leadership, the body language. I'll never forget Russell Wilson being on the Manning cast, and it's the playoff game, right? Yeah. And there he's like, yeah, if I'm on that Cardinal sideline, I think they're down like 20 or something. He's like, if I'm on that Cardinal sideline, like, I'm running up and down the sideline telling everyone we're not out of this. We've still got a chance. Like, we can do this. Like, we're in this together, blah, blah. And then it just pans to Kyler Murray, and he's just moping, sitting alone on the bench. And I was just like, oh, that is so bad. That is such an indictment.
Yeah, exactly. It just, I mean, he's young. Like, it's not like those things can't change. How old was he last year? I think I have it in front of me. Yeah, I mean, 24 last year, going just age 25 season. Like, absolutely, that stuff can change. But yeah, it's not Tom Brady, that's for sure.
Yeah. Okay. Do you want to do? Actually, let's do it on the other side. On the other side, we will give our top 10, each of us, and I'm feeling pretty good about mine, and I think it's better than this one, to be honest.
Okay.
But before we do that, a shout out to our friends over at Breckenridge Brewery. They're always doing something new at Breckenridge Brewery. Like, yesterday, I'm just at my pool at my apartment complex, and I just see someone sipping a Palisade Peach Light from Breck.
What?
And I was like, wow, that looks amazing. Like, I went through my, like, intense craft beer stage when I was in college and a little after that, and I've come out of it. I'm just like, the lighter the better. Like, that's what I want, something that I can just drink a bunch of. And I saw this guy drinking a Palisade Peach Light, and I'm like, I need to try that. That looks like something you can drink 10 of.
Yeah, we were at like a thing in Montana. My sister's like, "Oh, I just want to try all the IPAs and stuff." I was like, "Yeah, okay,
You'll grow out of this."
I'm trying to have a good time. Like, I'm not trying to like, oh, this will make me feel full and my mouth will. Yeah, no, I'm with you with the light stuff.
So I'm excited to try that. But there's so many great beers from Breckenridge Brew. Also, like, does this open the door for a Strawberry Sky Light?
I think it does, but that's it. Like, how much lighter could it get? It already feels pretty light.
I mean, it is light, and it's delicious, and it's perfect for a hot day in the summer. But again, for me, like, lighter equals better. So I'm got to try that. Got to have some Strawberry Skies. It was so hot this weekend. It was perfect for some Breck brews, good company, hard seltzers, all that good stuff. So check out our friends over at Breck Brew and keep an eye out. We're going to be doing some cool stuff with them this summer.
Also, the American Raptors. If you're looking for more cool stuff to do this summer and potentially drink beer while doing it, you should head out to Infinity Park. It's where you can watch the Raptors play. If you don't know what the American Raptors are, it's a rugby club that's composed of crossover athletes. They just finished their first season. They were 5-5, which is really good considering it's mostly all players who played other sports growing up, whether it's football or soccer or maybe some wrestlers in there. And they played in college. Maybe they got like an NFL camp invite. But when their career ended in whatever sport they were playing, they decided to jump back into rugby, and things are going well. It's Rugby Town USA. That's what they call Glendale. There's a bunch of USA rugby things that happen there. It's where the U.S. national team plays a bunch and trains and all that sort of thing. And so the idea is to feed those guys into those national team programs, and it's a cool spot. And if you're, I should say, the games are free. So head over to AmericanRaptors.com, get your free ticket. And if you can't make it, remember that they stream all of their games on AmericanRaptors.com. So check that out. And also follow along with our guy Colton Strickler's coverage over at DNVR Rugby.
All right. Also, just a reminder, check out everything we got going on over at thednvr.com. Also, bar renovations coming along, so prepare yourselves for the reopening. DNVR Bar 2.0 should be really exciting. But yeah, also go over to thednvr.com, become a member. You can read all of our stories over there. Okay, let's do it, Hank. Let's make our rankings. Allie, could you actually bring back the other rankings when you get a chance, just so we can kind of use those as a point of reference as we build ours. Hank, who are you going with number 1 overall? Remember, this is for a game this Sunday.
It's really tough. I wound up with Mahomes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I had Rodgers there for most of the way. Having him number 1 makes a lot of sense. And it's just, what more could you ask for? And the answer is, like, for him to have won one of those 2 games at the end of his season last year, but he also won at least 2, so like 14 of 17 heading into those, so like 28 and 6 in the other game. So I'm not too worried about it. I mean, that guy's just a freak. He's been doing it forever. He can do everything. He's smart and he can move, and he, like, I don't know. It's tough to put him number 2, but Mahomes, it's Mahomes, and he's basically built in that exact same mold with maybe even a slightly bigger arm, and so I went with it, and I don't feel great about it.
Okay, we're off to a very different start, I think. Maybe this isn't fair, but I got to see what Mahomes looks like without Tyreek Hill. That,
yeah.
I shouldn't say worries me, because it excites me. But you know the point. When it comes to who's starting for me on Sunday, I got to see what he looks like without Tyreek Hill. And obviously Travis Kelce moving closer and closer to the end of his rope. His stats were awesome last year. He wasn't as good if you watched the games. Number 1 for me still is Tom.
Yeah.
I feel like we almost forget that Tom maybe should have won MVP last year.
Mm-hmm.
And went bananas with his stats. Like, he was incredible last year. And just because he didn't win a Super Bowl like he's kind of expected to do every single season, I feel like we're forgetting that he threw for 5,300 yards, 43 touchdowns, and 12 interceptions. Like, what are we talking about here? And with all those stats, I'm trying to find what his completion percentage was. His completion percentage was 68%.
Yep.
So, like, he had a historically incredible season last year, and we just kind of forget about it because he didn't win the Super Bowl, and that's the bar for him now.
Totally. And that, I can't blame you for putting him number 1. Like, I consider that one too. He's my number 3. I'll say that also. It's an offense that throws the ball more than any other offense in the league. And there's like a pretty decent sized gap between them and second place. I think it's easy to look at that and say, well, of course he puts up crazy numbers. He gets to throw the ball way more than anybody else. It's like, but the reason they don't is because you know it's coming every single play, and he still is able to dice you up. I knocked him down just a little bit because he's so old. And I mean, we saw it with Peyton. Like, at some point,
yep,
you're just not the same. And then you talk about Tyreek Hill with Mahomes. I mean, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, all those guys. Like, that's the best receiving core in the NFL by a wide margin.
It should be noted, he's now, what, 6 years older than Peyton was when he had that season, and it still hasn't come.
Yeah.
So I'm done with saying, like, it's coming eventually.
That's fair. It's fair, but it just gives you a little bit more safety when you take Mahomes.
real quick, do you have any interest in adding Zach Wilson to your top 10 after this weekend's news?
Wow. I forgot that, like, so you like see it come up all day, It's like, oh, first this and then that and then that. And it's like, oh boy, here we are. Now we're praising the man for doing it. And I forgot that it's my job to like come up with thoughts about this. So I haven't done that. And
Okay.
I don't know. Like it's just like one of those wow stories, right? Just like what is going on?
Yeah, it's a couple things. One, people don't realize how, like, not all, but a lot of athletes are living very messy lifestyles. So I'll say that.
Like, I remember, like, some of the, like, you'll hear, like, a Nuggets guys will bring up, like, one of the NBA players, and it's like, I just can't believe that he did that in Vegas. And it's like, oh, my God. Imagine if I made $15 million a year, because I'm the same age as a lot of those guys. Like, would I do something dumb in Vegas? Yeah, like, monthly. Like, once a month, I would go to Vegas and be like, yeah, $100,000 tab, and guess what? We just did. I mean, it's what happens when you give people that much money.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. I mean, yeah.
They don't live in the real world.
So there's that.
Yeah.
They're living messy lifestyles in a totally different world than we are. And then the other thing is that I feel like Utah is playing by a whole different set of rules than the rest of us.
And that's really like the final twist in all of it, right? It's like so all this happens, you're like, wow, crazy. And then you're like, huh, how does that affect just like how this all came to be and the reactions from the communities that these people are a part of and all that stuff? It's messy. There's somebody's asking in the comments, what did Zach Wilson do? I would Google it because
I feel like I can give you the 10-second breakdown. This is all alleged. Yeah. Okay, allegedly, it starts with Zach Wilson's ex-girlfriend, now with his best friend. Then someone comments and calls her a name, and she responds by saying, well, he was sleeping with his mom's best friend. Boom.
Wild stuff. But that's what we live for. And then you try to like make it about football too, where it's like, and I hate when people do this, but it's hard not to, where it's like, does this show poor leadership skills? What about bad decision making? Like, is he gonna like? I hope he handles this well. It's so dumb. I mean, there is some of that where it's like the Baker Mayfield stories about like showing up to the Packers game, not knowing the game plan and having it on record that he played 10 hours of Fortnite or whatever every day that week.
Oh,
and it's like, okay, that's bad. Yeah, it just came back around on Twitter again. That was last season. But yeah, I think Zach Wilson, it'll be interesting because that would get in your head, right? Because you forget, like, he's also just a guy. Like, all of his friends now know, like, this is what's up. So you go back home and it's like, oh, bro, so that happened. That's awkward. Like, that would be kind of tough to focus.
I just think everyone that, like, knows someone that's at this level is just like, yeah, this kind of stuff happens.
Yeah. But also, like, when the kid from your hometown is like, oh, wait, him and her, and now you've got to go to camp, and you know that there's 100 reporters there that all just want to know about this. Like, it's easy to see this becoming a distraction for somebody who, he's like 2 years younger than me. I can't even imagine.
Last thing we're saying about this. Who deserves to be the most upset of anyone in this situation?
I think the mom.
Zach Wilson's mom.
Yeah, I think Zach Wilson's mom.
Yeah, that's who I'm with as well.
Yeah, I think she was betrayed. She didn't retaliate that we know of. I mean, right. We can pray that there's more coming out today about some sort of retaliation from the mom. But yeah, it's I think it's her by a mile.
Yeah. Also, Dax Milne, is that his name?
Yeah.
Big L, in my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, it's from his point of view. Like, who knows what the story is, right? Yeah, it's like in the office where it's like Pam is with whoever and Jim's with whoever and they do whatever. And you could tell all those sorts of stories from like so many different perspectives. Maybe Dax all through college is like, this girl, she's so awesome. She's making the worst decision of her life with Dak. and I should be with it. But and so like you could tell the story from that perspective and make him sound like a good, but also probably he's in the wrong.
I'll say this: if they get married, I change my take. Like if it ends up being like a successful relationship, they're deeply in love, all that stuff, then maybe it was the right move. If not, an L.
Yeah, that's tough. And I just, I just think back to being the college football guy, watching these BYU games. I remember tweeting out like, "Oh, Zach Wilson's going to be he's quarterback 2 in this draft," and everybody being like, "No, he's not. You're an idiot. That guy's not even close." So like, whatever. And then this happens, and I watch all those games with Dax Milne. It's like, oh, Dax Milne is so underappreciated. Meanwhile, all of this is going on under the surface, or like maybe not like the big stuff, but they're like roommates, and all this is cooking. That's why we love football.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, I've only done number 1, so number 2 for me is Josh Allen.
Yeah,
I'm going Josh Allen number 2. I think he's. How do I put this? If you put him in Patrick Mahomes' shoes, and you put him in the Chiefs' offense with those guys, I think we would be talking about like even more ridiculous stats, more success, all that stuff. Like I think he is a little bit better than Patrick Mahomes. And again, should have beat Patrick Mahomes in the AFC Championship game last season if it weren't for just some ridiculous garbage from the Bills defense.
Yeah. Again, that's just one game though. And just like when his stats are worse across the board year after year after year.
Situation.
Yeah. But I mean, Stephon Diggs and Cole Beasley, like it's not like that's a terrible situation.
We're talking about Cole Beasley right now.
I mean, what? He was like 4th in the league in catches. Again,
why?
We're going to do that thing I was talking about before where it's like, well, it was the quarterback who did. No, it was the receiver did. No, I mean, like, it's whatever. We'll
give
see,
him
I guess.
Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods and see what happens.
Yeah, give Stephon Diggs to Matt Stafford and see what happens. Like that's, I mean, you can do that stuff all day. And I mean, it's
mostly give him Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, Sammy Watkins, that whole crew. And I think we're talking about that. But that again, that I'm allowed, this is a projection. I'm allowed to say that I think he would be better with the same weapons. He definitely has the best arm in the league.
Yeah, biggest arm.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like Mahomes has a 50 touchdown season. Like Mahomes has completed more than 66% of his passes for a career. Like you just go through, and to me, it's just like there's the numbers gap is big enough that it doesn't come down to that other stuff.
Okay. Number 3 for me is Pat Mahomes. Again, curious to see what happens to him with a much weaker receiving core. It's obviously he's not going to all of a sudden be bad, but I'll be curious to see if he's like in the MVP conversation all year.
Yeah. I mean, it's a big year for him. I talked about Dak Prescott having like the perfect situation coming in, and now he kind of has a little bit more of a testy year this year. Patrick Mahomes is like the biggest version of that. So I don't know. I did make a bet yesterday, like the Chiefs to have a winning record, the Titans to have a winning record, which was the big one, the Packers and the Broncos to have a winning record. And all of that levels out to like plus 300 or something. I was like, that's a pretty solid. And it all comes down to the Titans. Like they'll be good. Like it's a lock that they're going to be good. But yeah, it will be interesting for sure.
We did this on bets the other day. I put together a big one. It's Broncos, Chiefs, Bengals, Ravens, Raiders, Packers, Buccaneers, Colts, Patriots.
That is a big one.
That's all for plus 1,800.
Yeah, that's solid. I put another one in. So that one I told you, I had in my bet slip for like a week while I was in Montana because DraftKings isn't up there. So I was just waiting and waiting and waiting. As soon as we landed, I was like, okay, I can finally put this through. But the other one, I had hopefully we don't have a DraftKings read later and we're just blowing all of this. But I decided I needed to get in on Colorado over 3 wins because now I'm like, I'm not a Colorado reporter. I'm a Colorado fan. And the best part of a number like that is like they can be 0-9 and you're still alive. Or I guess you can push. But I combined that with the Broncos over 9 regular season wins. 9's a push. 10, it's awesome. Nuggets Western Conference Finals winner. So again,
So
like if you can make
to
it
the championship.
Yep. So that's like a nice one to have. So you don't feel pressured to like take it. And then Avs to win the cup, which again, that like finishes after the Nuggets. That one can't, So I like how it's all staggered. So I'm not going to have to re-up any of those. And it works out to obviously be like plus 13,000.
In this world, who do you see the Nuggets playing in the NBA Finals?
I mean, it's the same, dude. Like, is it the Celtics or the Bucks? It's like I'll go with the Giannis here.
The Bucks.
I'll go with the Giannis here. Yeah.
Yeah. So I like your move, just taking that, because that would be a battle.
Exactly. Like, give me just a little bit of an out there. But back to this.
No. Fun fact, okay. Henry, that was all a DraftKings read.
Wow.
Shout out to our friends over at DraftKings Sportsbook. They're doing amazing things over there. And like we mentioned, you can parlay NFL teams to have a winning record. This is a fun one for me. Again, if you want to follow mine, it's 9 teams, which I feel like that's not crazy. It's Broncos, Chiefs, Bengals, Ravens, Raiders, Packers, Bucks, Colts, Patriots. Who breaks that, in your opinion?
Colts scary a little bit, but with Jonathan Taylor healthy, they should be healthy. On the Patriots, exactly like Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan, not a top 10 quarterback. We didn't even bring him up.
No, but I mean, with that running game, and then Matt Ryan just having to do easy stuff,
should be solid.
Yeah.
Then the Patriots. I'm with you. I think it'll happen, but it's a bet for sure. Like, you're asking for improvement.
Yeah. Those are the two that had the actually no, the two lowest odds were Patriots. So Patriots were only minus 115 to have a winning record. Basically, they're saying coin flip. And then the Raiders minus 120. I think everyone in the division probably ends up with a winning record, but if there's one that doesn't, it'll be the Chargers.
It's tough if the Raiders, like, if they just go 1-5 in the division, like, then you're asking a lot for the others, and you could totally see them just getting swept by the Chiefs and the Broncos, and splitting with the Chargers.
You could. I don't think anyone's going 1-5. I don't think anyone's going 5-1. I think this whole thing is going to be a massive grind.
Yeah,
and it's going to end up really even with like 3 teams at 10 wins or something and 1 at 9. Like, I think it's going to be insane the whole year. Every week you're scoreboard watching.
That sounds. I'm so excited for football season. Sorry, I was reading this guy's baseball jersey across the street. I can't tell what it says. But yeah, it's going to be incredible. There's nothing better than that.
When people say Henry's like a golden retriever, that's what they mean. Okay. Let's just go top 5. I guess we're gonna take all day going through this.
Wait, that was a read.
Oh yeah, DraftKings Sportsbook, where you can get a sign-up bonus up to $1,000 when you use the code DNVR at sign-up. Of course, you must be 21 or older. Colorado only. Bonus comprised of first deposit bonus, first bet match, each for $500. Deposit bonus requires 25x playthrough. Restrictions do apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. If you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-522-4700. That was a great read.
It was solid. Athletic Greens. I've been happy again. My first day back in Colorado. I got back last night. Oh my goodness. I forgot to tell you, this was probably the worst flight of my life. So there was like a storm at the airport, so they shut down the airport. And it's like when we're supposed to be landing. And so then, like, obviously flying through the storm, I've never been on a plane so shaky. Like, they were saying, like, yeah, everybody turn your air on, like, just in case your stomach gets a little bit queasy. And there was one point where I was like, this plane's going down. And honestly, at this point, like, I'll take my chances. Like, instead of like trying to not vomit, and then are we going to wind up flying to Nebraska because there's an airport there or whatever. That was stressful. But so then we finally get to go land, and they abort the landing and pull back up. And it's like, oh my God, what just happened? So, like, obviously there's nobody saying like, so now we're about to pull up. Everybody's just like, what is happening here? And there's another like 15 minutes of circling. It's like, what the hell is any of this? And everybody's like about to vomit. They've landed and like everybody's clapping. I was like, I've always thought, like, if you're clapping for the pilot, like, what are you doing? Like, there's clapping situations, and those are concerts, those are sports, and that's it. And not on a plane. But when it happened, no, I didn't. But as soon as we landed, I was like, I had the urge. I was like, should I clap? And then like a couple seconds later, people started clapping. I was like, huh, I wasn't the only one thinking. But yeah, point is, back in Montana now, drinking my athletic greens.
You mean back in
Get me ready to
Colorado?
go to the gym. Yeah, whoops. I'm still shook up from that flight. But yeah, athletic greens, because wasn't the most effective trip to the gym today, but the athletic greens certainly did make it a little bit more effective. A week in Montana is a lot of like eating and drinking and not going to the gym. But
A lot of fry bread.
there was plenty of fry bread up there. But Athletic Greens has 75 high quality vitamins. There's minerals, whole food source, superfoods, probiotics, adaptogens, everything that you could want in a little powder that you scoop into your drink and shake up. It's vegan. It's all those sorts of things. It's awesome. And to make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/Broncos. That's athleticgreens.com/Broncos to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance.
So real quick, I want to just briefly tap into you saying that the only 2 times you should clap are at a concert and a sporting event. We're opening that up to like all performances, right?
Oh yeah. So like a play.
Okay.
I mean, yeah,
A
movies,
play, a
obviously, that's not really
musical.
a
There's
live
not-
performance. Sure, we'll
Okay.
take that. A
Does
good speech.
does a hibachi grill count as a live performance? Are you clapping at Benihana?
That's a good question. Because honestly, that sounds like one of the questions my girlfriend would ask me, where it's like, okay, it's trying to watch a movie. It's like, do you clap at Benihana? And it's like, oh my God, what are we doing? But yeah, that's one where I would say like, no, I'm not clapping for a guy who's cooking. But then you get there and you have a couple sakis in you, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, you just flipped the onions and it made fire, and everybody else is clapping. Like I'm not gonna be like sitting there with my arms crossed. Like there's no fun there. So in theory, no, I wouldn't clap for hibachi, but I don't think I could resist.
Yeah, I'm going that's clappable performance all day. So I think it's anytime. I don't know. Landing the plane feels like it might. I don't. Is that a performance? Kinda.
He performed.
The big thing is you need the person who has earned this ovation needs to be able to hear it. So that's where like you draw the line at movies. Like, clapping at a movie, really cringy. Really cringy.
They're not there.
Right.
Like, who are you clapping for?
Who are you clapping
the guy who pressed the button?
Yeah, the person in the room that
the
rolled
guy
the
who
tape.
chose the sound level. And he's like, oh, that wasn't too loud, but not too quiet. Like, yeah, I killed it.
Yeah, and then people are saying like the pilot just performed his job, but like isn't Bradley Chubb's job to sack the quarterback? Like we cheer and clap for him every time he does that.
Yeah, exactly. There's like he
said, do you clap for the bus driver?
He's like batting 500, you know?
Yeah.
And not even. Like it's like, oh, once in every 40 attempts he gets the sack, and that's a good number. And so it was like a challenge where it's like landing a plane should be virtually 100%. Like playing the movie should be like it happens every time, you know? There's no like chance it goes wrong. Like a concert, it's like, yeah, you could screw that up.
For sure. All right. Do you clap at the bus driver? I feel like if the bus driver had to drive through like a river or something, I would.
That sounds like something like you see those videos come out of subways in New York where it's like, oh, look, this guy dressed up as Spider-Man just started like kissing all the people on the bus or something. It's like, that's New York for you, you know, that kind of thing.
Oh,
it's like somebody just starts clapping at every stop for you know, and then everybody's just like, what is this guy? Just for like a second goes back to Twitter or whatever. Yeah, no, I do not clap for bus drivers. No offense to bus drivers. Shout out Phil Lindsay's dad.
We should do that as a bit next time we go on a DNVR Broncos trip. Like when we're in the bus from the airport to the rental car place, just big ovation for the bus driver.
I'm down.
All right.
Look, I'm not on a trip with you guys anytime soon.
That is fine.
Both of you suck.
Never mind. We shouldn't clap for Allie.
No.
Also, the pilot, like, yes, landing is his job, like landing the plane is his job, but he just went through so much. Like that must have been really hard to land a plane like that when you're dealing with all of that. So I think I wouldn't start the clap, but I definitely would give a few claps in there.
Okay.
Because that was a challenge. That's not normally what he does. He really easily lands it, and that was like a whoa, an untrained pilot or something like that could have killed a bunch of people.
Yeah, I also should say I had a middle seat between two like older, pretty intense men, and they were not going to clap for anything. We didn't talk, obviously, not that I wanted to, but if I were to sit there and just be like, oh yeah, clapping, they would have both looked at me like I'm an idiot. Like it was also kind of like a situational. Those were not clappers.
No, for sure. Yeah, I understand, but
right,
a few
That's
claps
fair.
in there.
Let's tie a bow on this with this, Henry. A lot of times people come to the bar and watch us do cast live, especially on Sundays. When the show ends, we get a round of applause. Is that earned?
Today it would be. That's the other thing, is it's not just like, oh, I'm at a concert, I should clap. Oh, I'm at a sporting event, I should, like, they need to be earned. Don't clap for the anthem just because somebody sang it. Like, if it's good, clap. I think we need to start being a little bit more selective and say, like, okay, maybe the anthem's always fine in hindsight. But in other situations, maybe be like, yeah, this play wasn't incredible. Let's
when they do the mutton busting at halftime, like, don't clap for the kids that can't stay on for a second.
Yes, exactly. Maybe boo them, honestly.
Yeah.
Maybe we need to be quicker to boo, too.
I think there's... Do you boo the pilot? You guys should have booed the pilot when you didn't land on the first try.
Boo, you suck. Trade him.
Get it together. All right, I guess we're not finishing these top 10 quarterback rankings because we still have to get to our questions. Or unless you want to go rapid fire.
Yeah. Mahomes, Rodgers, Brady, Allen, Wilson, Stafford, Burrow, Lamar Jackson, Justin Herbert, forgot his first name, Dak Prescott.
I need to be able to look at this.
Oh my goodness. You did write out your notes, damn it.
I thought I was going to be able to... Oh, there we go. Okay. Brady, Allen, Mahomes, Rodgers, Wilson, Burrow, Stafford. How many is that?
Okay, only one of us deserves to be clapped for this performance.
I think I have 3 more. Then I'm going Jackson, Murray, Herbert.
Kyler Murray in front of Justin Herbert.
Yeah, for sure. End of the
That is a take. Yeah, I guess technically out of the NFC, so who knows if we count it.
Out of the NFC West. Probably previously the toughest division in football.
Yeah. I mean, it was. Not anymore, though.
Nope, that would be the AFC West for
probably. Gotta make them play at least one game.
No.
Okay.
Crowning them.
Paper champions. We love those.
I'm crowning them as the best division in sports history.
Without seeing a game.
Yep.
Okay, that's bold.
Yeah. So there you go. All right, let's get to these questions.
We're holding you to that, though. When they're all like 4 and 5, what's coming up again?
Did you go through these super chats?
No,
Nope.
Let's hit those. But if they're 4 and 5, it's only because of how difficult the competition is within the division.
So they all lost all 5 division games?
No, they wore each other down. They cannibalized each other in the head-to-head matchups.
Okay.
All right. Soren Lundgren says Deshaun is not playing, therefore not eligible to be put on a current QB list. Number 10 is Lamar Jackson. Fair take.
Okay.
Brian Parra says Dallin is living his best life in Utah. That would be a inside joke Madden League. Thanks for the $2, though, Brian. Okay. First one here is from Official Think, who says, hey, y'all, I'm really excited for the running back duo. I like the idea of an onslaught, assuming both backs are doing what they do best. What's considered an OG? Been around since BSN. I just don't talk much. Love y'all and everything you do day in, day out. You truly are a part of my daily life, to and from work when I walk my dogs and even in the office. Okay, bye. I would say, yeah, if you were around for BSN, you're probably considered an OG. If like there's levels to it though, like if you remember me and BK doing the podcast, then you're like, if you remember the iterations even before that, then you're like a super OG.
Nice. Yeah, I think It's nice to have BSN as just like a line. It's like, yeah, that counts as OG.
It feels right. It feels like the right spot. It's crazy to think about like this offense. If everything were to click in this offense, and that's unlikely, but it's like Melvin Gordon is at his best. Javonte Williams takes a step forward. Cortland Sutton is back to Pro Bowl form. Jerry Jeudy gets to who we thought he was going to be. Tim Patrick takes maybe a small step forward, but continues to be Mr. Reliable. Like, that's a top 5 offense at the very least, maybe number 1.
Totally. Totally. Yeah. Like, if everything goes right, there's no reason they can't be. That's why it's so fun.
100%. From Big Hank Stan, hotel auctions are fake. I'm so glad that they brought this up because, well, let's just read the comment and then I'll talk about this. They say, Hank, Big Hank, Henry, the last best journalist, the Hankster, true son of Montana, the once and future king of us all. Also, hotel lobby auctions are a fallacy. Even if they are real, it's gross. Love, Hank Stan. Okay, so I've received multiple transmissions. Transmission? What's the word I'm looking for?
Depends on what you're talking about.
Messages.
Okay.
On this subject, the most notable being from our homie Joey, who is a traveling musician in a band that goes all around the country, who says he has seen several of these things in cities all over the country.
Hell yes.
Thanks, Allie.
Allie as hyped as one can be. How do you feel about that, Hank?
I think I'm going to stick with Big Hank Stan over there. He seems to know what he's talking about in a bunch of different levels. So if he says no hotel auctions, I mean, then those are not a real thing.
All right, fair. The next one is also from Big Hank Stan, hotel auctions are fake. What's a better unit right now in total, the secondary or the defensive line? And are the units on enough footing to enact a Wade Phillips-style rush and cover scheme?
So, I mean, defensive line, if you throw in like the outside linebackers, that's when it becomes a conversation. Like, if it's defensive line alone, then it's the secondary. Like, you have Justin Simmons, you have Pat Surtain, and then you have options outside of those guys. Like, that's better than the Joneses and, Deshaun Williams and those guys. But if you bring in Randy Gregory and Bradley Chubb, it's still the secondary. Yeah, it's still the secondary. Yeah. But there's a real path for that to be different after the season. Like, if you wind up with Bradley Chubb and Randy Gregory going off and the other guys are maximizing their reps, then all of a sudden you could be saying they're better just because of the depth, which is something the secondary may or may not have.
Agree on that. I will say, as to the second question about Wade Phillips rush and cover, I don't think you have nearly enough man coverage that you trust to be able to do that. Like going Aqib Talib, Chris Harris Jr., Bradley Roby was like so easy because you were just like, we trust each and every one of these guys to cover any player in the league man to man.
Yeah.
You don't have that here. You trust Pat Surtain, and that's it.
Yep. And Darby has the speed to kind of cover for mistakes. So you could throw it out there a little bit depending on the matchup. Like if the Raiders have Hunter Renfrow out there, then you could see them saying like, okay, if we put K'Wan Williams on Hunter Renfrow, we don't necessarily love it, but it might be worth the gamble. But then
Hunter Renfrow just cooks man coverage.
Yes, but not downfield.
No, yeah, you're not taking a big risk. But if it's like 3rd and 5, he's going to get open and convert it.
Probably. But that's where you say, like, if we need to do something, we could just say, like, jam him up, see if you can stick with him.
I like the idea of
20% chance of success, but whatever.
Yeah, I like the idea of blitzing from that side and giving yourself a chance to get a hand up on that pass because it's like, you know that he's going to end up looking to Renfrow. I mean, he could also look to Waller, but he's probably going to end up looking to Renfrow. So you bring the blitz from that side, try to cut down his line of sight.
Yeah. Or even double team, like leave a linebacker in the middle playing like a little zone there and let the corner take anything outside and chase him inside. And then he could help out. The linebacker could help out on the other side too. And you rush 5. Hopefully if you're rushing 5, I don't know. It's not immediate pressure, but it's
wow.
This solid.
great point in the comments from Andrew S. I think I have the counterpoint, but he says, so you said only clap if they can hear you, but what about if you're at a sports bar watching a game and your team wins? Are you supposed to stay silent? Really good point. Obviously, no. It's a good kind of like counter argument. My thing is you're not clapping to like encourage the team. You're just going crazy because you're happy.
Yeah. Which is the way a clap should be. Like, I think that a clap should be based just in pure emotion. Like, it should just be like an energy that you can't get out.
But doesn't that open up like that movie was incredible, the ending was perfect, and I just can't help but cheer?
I guess it kind of does. But I mean, that's me whenever I go get the hibachi. Or it's just like, I don't believe in clapping for chefs. No offense to any chefs out there, but I just can't keep this in. Look at what he's doing with that onion, you know?
Can you believe that he threw the shrimp into that person's mouth?
Exactly. And maybe you're even more excited that the guy caught it. So it's tough to say. I might need to take some time, maybe sleep on this one.
Yeah, and that's what I was gonna say. Is like the main thing is like you clap just as like a reaction when you're yelling too.
Yeah.
And so like you're not necessarily clapping to be like, "Good job, Avs! You won the Stanley Cup! Like we're so proud of you." You're just like yelling, and you're also just trying to make as much noise as possible.
Yeah, you just can't control yourself, and there should never be clapping at a play, because I don't think anybody's yelling after a play.
Oh,
right?
I think so.
Oh, really? Maybe I've just been going to bad plays, but yeah, like when you see these guys with their little ballet claps, it's like, what are you doing?
We went to School of Rock, the play / musical, I guess it would be the musical.
Yeah.
And Allie would have given each and every performer a standing ovation if she could.
I had a lot of Chardonnay. It was my birthday, and those kids did an amazing job. They're little kids, and they know all of that stuff. They know all the lines. Like
it was really impressive.
Oh, it was kids. Oh, I guess that makes sense because they have to play the students.
Yeah, all the kids were singing, dancing, like playing instruments. But and they were like, some of them were probably like 6, 7, 10. I was like so proud of them. I was like, oh,
I think Allie
emotional from the Chardonnay, so I was just very proud of the kids.
I think Allie legitimately cried tears of joy.
I did not. Stop being dramatic.
I think that happened.
Wow.
I was just very impressed by the little kids doing such a great job.
The School of Rock musical crowd is a little bit different than like I feel like that's easier to be like loudly excited about,
it's
right?
Also a performance, like you were saying. It's like
it was like a concert meets a play meets a musical. It was cool.
But like if you're giving off like a gentle clap at a ballet, I feel like that just doesn't add up.
I think it's just like respect for the level of preparation that went into it.
What do you think of snapping?
No.
I hate it so much.
Never.
I get that it's like a part of whatever culture, like mime culture. No, there have to be something weird like that. Okay. But it's just like, what are you doing? No offense to any snappers out there. I just grew up differently.
All right. Orange Bronco UK says, hi guys, I'm here to answer your bat signal for pod questions, and I have a few. One, who will have the highest number of fumbles? Ojemudia forcing them on the opposition or Melvin giving them up? Well, I'm predicting a fumble-less season from Melvin Gordon. I'll touch wood. And so I guess I'll take Ojemudia peanut punches.
Wow. And there's just so many factors here. Can we still get like special DraftKings bets?
Yeah.
Can we get like Ojemudia forced fumbles or Melvin Gordon fumbles? Which one's more?
Melvin Gordon lost fumbles would be like minus 250.
Yeah. There's some options there. I mean, you got to take the Melvin Gordon fumbles. It's just, he's fumbled before. He's probably going to fumble. All running backs fumble. He seems to definitely be a running back. And Ojemudia, I'm excited about him. Will he be on the field?
Look at this comment from Michael Kerr. Do you think he just said he has to leave? Do you think he's clapping right now?
If he's screaming woo in all caps, he is absolutely clapping. There's no way he can control himself.
I would say just like a instinctive clap had to come out when he typed that.
I wonder when the next time I'll clap is. It's a weird time of year for that.
I would think we might go to the Rockies game tomorrow, so that seems like a good
Oh,
time. Although who knows if they'll
nice.
do anything clap-worthy. Thanks for the love, Michael, by the way. 2, what former Broncos player would you add to this roster to give it a better chance of winning a Super Bowl?
Ooh.
Okay, so you have to start. Like my first thought is going to be quarterback. Like
Peyton Manning,
in
John
my
away.
yeah, is the upgrade there big enough that you're just saying like I'm taking prime Peyton Manning? I think he gives us the best chance to win. And my gut feeling tells me that yes. Like when Peyton Manning's on the field, you just expect to win every game. That being said, only 2 Super Bowls. Got to worry about the weather when it gets cold out, all that good stuff. I'm going to move on from quarterback, though.
Yeah. I think I probably would go quarterback. But, yeah, if we're talking about other things, the big ones, I think, Ryan Clady, Champ Bailey.
Yeah,
Yep.
I mean, Pat Surtain and Champ Bailey.
And Prime
Justin
Vaughn.
Simmons. I would take Champ over Vaughn.
Just because of the way the roster is built, I think that probably makes that'd be my decision too.
So if you add Champ Bailey, then you just like recreated a better version of the no-fly zone. And
that's bold. It's
I guess
right
the
there.
only thing is that the third is still a question mark.
Exactly. It's like, okay, so Champ Bailey, that's an upgrade over Akib. Surtain is a downgrade probably versus Chris Harris that season.
At least right now, yeah.
Yeah. And then you have one upgraded safety, but both those guys were so good that year. Like Kareem Jackson's a step.
Okay.
You
I'll say
have to see it play out.
You've created
right
a
there.
comparable secondary to the
I can get on board with that.
I'll come down a little bit. And then you have your offense. But man, there's no way you can go away from the quarterback. You just anytime you can get an upgrade at quarterback, you take it.
Shannon Sharp,
and I'm taking Peyton Manning.
Shannon Sharp could be a monster. If he could just block a little bit better, then I think he might be my answer. I was going back through and watching some of these games. I'm trying to rewatch the whole season. I've been through 3 of them now, and not to like just out of nowhere throw shade at Noah Fant, but it is pretty crazy how often you like watch a play and it's like, oh, Noah Fant ruined that one. Where it's just like, oh, that was looking like a decent run until, oh, guess who is backwards right there? It's like, it's frustrating.
Why is just Noah Fant catching strays on a Monday?
Sorry, Noah. You're awesome.
Number 3, why has Hank ghosted the Madden chat? We miss you.
I took a week off. I took some distance. I was going to send that Michael Jordan I'm back thing. Actually, I was going to do it this morning, but then haven't gotten around to it. A little spoiler for any Madden guys who are watching. It's on the way at some point today. To anybody who saw any of these games, I imagine I lost last week when I was in Montana. Congrats on seeing my last watch of this. Oh, never mind.
Yeah, you're 3-1 and tied with me for the division lead.
Oh,
or sorry,
boy.
You're not. Yeah, I'm 4-1, so you have one more game.
Okay.
That you got to play.
Okay. Well, I'm not losing again, is what I'm gonna say.
All right, we'll see about that. I have the bye week, and then we play. So
good. I haven't played a Madden game in a very long time.
All right, 4. Since the Broncos are playing in London, are you more likely to eat fish and chips first or pie and mash?
So that's a good question.
Is that the same as bangers and mash?
I thought the banger was the mash, but it can't be because that's a thing. What is a banger?
I think it's
pie is a different thing.
Okay, so like shepherd's pie we're talking about here, like a meat pie.
Exactly. I love a good meat pie. At the same time, though, I don't think I could turn down fish and chips.
I'm probably going fish and chips first.
Yeah. Oh, I think bangers or sausages.
So that's what I thought.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I do really like a good meat pie, and I mean, for all the shade we throw at London and their food, their meat pies are probably the best in the world. So I'm very excited for those. Honestly, it could be situational.
To be honest, if I have my choice of eating anything, my first meal when I get to London, I'm eating Indian food.
Okay. Well, we might be going different places for the first meal. Sorry, Ryan. But yeah, like the fish and chips. Like if you're at a bar, a pub. We're going to England. If we're at a pub, then I'll be indulging in some fish and chips probably first. But the thing is, you can get a meat pie just about anywhere over there. At least that's what I've heard.
Orange Bronco UK, aka Dan. We've heard so many bad things about the food in London. It's up to you to point us in a direction that proves those people wrong.
It's tough when you're on an island. Like it's not that you can't get the food there. Like if you wanted to get like, oh, here's some pepperoni or whatever, like you could get it shipped there, whatever. But it just would be much more expensive than anywhere else. Like you're just up there on your own little world, and it's like, what do you have? Like you just have meats, you have like your starches, you've got fish, the cold water fish.
I don't know. My thing is like, you're so close to so many good, like you're obviously much closer to Italy and France and India and all these places than we are. So like, shouldn't people from those places be moving there and making great food? That's why I want the Indian food, because I know that's a thing.
Huh. Yeah, I don't know. Like I'm not gonna lie, I'm not much of a Europe guy in general. You know, it all just kind of confuses me. So it's a 20-hour drive from London to Italy, which again is like pretty close, considering
the same as here to New York.
Yeah, but it's also like at one. So my sister's gonna be in Germany. She has like she spent a year in Germany doing whatever nerd music thing she's doing in Germany. It's like, oh, you should visit her when you're over there. It's like, yeah, I should, but then also it's like because we're on the same continent. Like it's not like it sounds kind of weird to just be like, oh, I'm gonna be on the same continent as this person. I should probably go see him. You know?
Yeah, it's like if you had a cousin or something who was like going to Florida. And they were like, oh, you should go visit Henry while you're there.
Yeah, she had this weird Danish boyfriend when she was living in Denmark. And it's not because he's Danish. So any Danish fans out there actually have some really like you guys. But he was like, yeah, I want to come see you guys when I'm in America. I'm going to New Orleans. It's like, that doesn't make sense. And I get that, like, the way that I feel about, like, yeah, do you just go to France when you're in England? Like, maybe. But also, I know that you don't just like, oh, I'm going to be in Louisiana. I might as well just jump up to Montana real quick. No.
Yeah. But it's something that I think about all the time, how, like, you just think of, like, I don't know, you think of a country and you just think of, like, oh, yeah, people from that country. But then you think of your own country and just think of all the different types of people that live here. It's like there's no, like, Americans. That's not a thing.
That is kind of, like, a big part of America, though. This is like it's the melting pot, you know. So like you still do have like the movements over there, but I think
like I assume people from the south of other countries are different than the people from the north of those countries.
Oh yeah. Oh exactly. Yeah, like that kind definitely. Yeah, because there's some. Yeah, we don't need to get into like American place rankings just in general, but there are very clear rankings.
Interesting. I don't want to tap into those at all.
No.
But it's glad to know that you have your biases. All right. Yeah. I think this is probably where we should stop this show. Let's wrap it up here. Appreciate everyone for tuning in. Hit us with a thumbs up if you're watching on YouTube. Zach is back tomorrow, we think. He told us that. So we can probably count on things that Zach tells us. We're excited to have him back tomorrow. Plenty more to talk about the rest of the week. We will talk to you guys then. Peace out.